This year's schedule is very challenging. As you mentioned, a lot of our schedules are. That's the way we like it. One is, in order to be the best, you have to play the best and you have to beat them. So we've got some really top teams this year. This is without a doubt the strongest team from 1 to 22. We have a lot more depth this year, a lot more speed this year. We have some combination of good experience, with some youth. So anything can happen. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Got a lot of returners back, a lot of familiar faces from last year's team that once again went to the regionals. How much can all that experience returning help this team going into this year?
It's really amazing to see the growth in just 1 year of our freshmen last year. Like, if you recall, we had a freshman at third, at second, at first, and right. We also had a center fielder who never played center field before, a left fielder who's normally a center fielder. We had a shortstop who never played shortstop before. But I tell you, it's really about, we have athletes and they can play a lot of different positions, and very excited about that. And the other thing is the experience that the freshmen got last year in the ASUN. As you're aware, we're 23-1 and we're able to win regular season as well as the championship. But the key is we don't focus on winning or losing. It's really focusing on how can we reach our full potential and strive for that, not with every game, but with every pitch. And that's what we're trying to instill in these athletes. And it looks a lot of fun because they're buying into it.
Pitching-wise, Kirby was the one in the circle last year in the regional. You got Carly Keeney back. Who else is behind Keeney? And have you seen Keeney take a step forward here from fall into spring?
It's hard to replace and Emily Kirby, without a doubt, but it's so fun to see the response of the pitching staff and how they're stepping up. Carly Keeney is throwing the ball harder than ever, and it's moving more than ever. It's awesome to see that. We have a transfer in Emily Estroff, who came from Florida Gulf Coast. It's her COVID 5th year, and she's getting her master's, and she is looking really good. We look at the improvement that you see from Paige Bachman. I mean, Baki is just throwing lights out movement at 6'2". She's going to have a really nice advantage for the pitches that she throws. And then you've got, Haley Dieter. Haley, she redshirted last year, and she's coming in with an expectation that maybe she wouldn't pitch for a while, but she's looking so good. So be ready to see her a little bit in the circle as well. And we just got to see who's going to step up and see what the best combination is going to be. How can we mobilize them in a way that is going to be keeping hitters off balance and giving us a lot of success? But it's really a strong, pitching staff, and it's going to be one of those things to see how they respond to the competition that we have.
This 3 out of the last 4 years been to a regional. It's hard to expect to win a championship because it's hard to do. But this team, it feels like it's kind of been on that doorstep too, knocking on the door of breaking through to the next level. How would you define the expectations for this year and the odds you feel like of your team achieving that and breaking through?
Well, God is so good. Win or lose, he's so good. And one of the things that shows a lot of his goodness and faithfulness is where Liberty softball is, and Liberty University and the Liberty Athletic Program. We've been very blessed. We're getting everything that we need. It's just amazing to see the new construction that is being finished for us with the 5 indoor cages and a team room we're calling the Nest, as well as 2 offices and a film room. And I can go on and on. The new Liberty Multipurpose Center that baseball, softball, lacrosse, and club sports are being utilized with the growth of where Liberty football is going, and FBS and our movement to Conference USA coming up. But I can tell you that the expectations are for our athletes to recognize that God has given them amazing gifts and opportunities. And that because of that, and trusting him, that they play with a freedom that can only be explained because you are in that mode of doing what the Lord has created you to do, right? And that is to worship him through the sport of softball for our student athletes and for us as coaches. And when I'm getting chills just saying it, because what a blessing it is to have that opportunity and to do it at a university who our whole mantra is about training champions for Christ. And we can do that and speak freely of our Lord and Savior. And for me and our players to grow in our faith and to be able to go closer to a relationship with Jesus is really the key to expressing yourself freely instead of worrying about outcomes, right? Worrying about championships, worrying about repeating, all of those things. And when you do that, great things happen because you're playing in such a way that you're just, I always say, one with the ball. Nothing else exists, right? And you feel the Lord's pleasure doing it. When you do that, great things happen.
So it's more about just focusing on the things you can control and putting them in the environment, giving them the situations, right, to succeed. And when it happens, it happens.
Well, in today's world, it's very difficult for these student athletes to be able to separate all of these, not only demands, but the pressures that are put on them, the temptations that are out there. We know what's happening in the world is biblical. So the question is, how do we, as coaches, to be able to coach them for life lessons, right? And one of those is, how do you become an Olympian? How do you become a professional athlete? What does it mean to be professional? And that's what they have to learn. And when they do that, win or lose, making an error or making the play, they need to act like a pro. And that takes something they have to be taught. And I believe that's what we can offer them as a coaching staff. And that's one thing that they're really buying into. And they're still so young, but boy, a lot of them are playing beyond their youth.
You mentioned Paige when you were talking about your pitchers. I think, correct me if I'm wrong, she played a lot of first base last year as well too. And with Lou moving on, do you see Paige playing first base again too? And then also, what about center field with Neto out of the picture?
Well, let me see. What we're focusing on right now for Paige Bachman is her in the circle, but she can hit the ball. We know she can play first. And what a great target at 6'2". It's awesome. So she is a really well-rounded athlete. And so for her, I think she's really excited to be pitching. We'll see how she handles it. But man, she's got that speed up. She's got the movement. And at her height, it's to her advantage of where the ball moves. But Baki is ready to go. Paige Bachman, we call her Baki. She really knows what her role is. And if we need her, she's ready to go. When you have a Kara Caneto graduate, she had a COVID year left. But with the injuries, that she had, she just said, Coach, I would like to come back, but as a student coach. So she's on my coaching staff. But it's hard to replace a Kara Caneto. Someone on the left side who's ready to, attack any pitch, high batting average. She could do it all. Put a bunt down, put it over the fence. It's hard to replace that kind of, hitter and that kind of player. But I think what she has given, and this is what legacy is about, she's been able to pass that on to MC, right? Mary Claire is just owning it out there. Got to play next to her, got to see how Kara Caneto responded as a lefty hitter, which MC is. Mary Claire's got that speed. I think it really has inspired her, and her being back as a coach is helping Coach Sammy also with the outfield.
Carly said there's more speed on this team this year. How was that emphasis in recruiting, just to get some more speed?
Well, actually, again, the talent of this team is God-given, right? So when you look at the speed that we have this year, it's real speed. There's speed, but there's real speed. When someone runs a 2.5 from home to first, that's real speed. So we've got a 2.5, a 2.56, a 2.7, a 2.76, 2.8. We've got some speed, and it's going to be great. But speed does kill. It's hard to teach speed, but you got to get speed on the bases. So if they're able to do it themselves, great. If not, they're going to be pinch running and doing that for those teammates that are able to make it happen.
Does that give you just another avenue to manufacture runs? I mean, in the postseason, runs can be really hard to come by.
Yeah, when you look at ways we can score runs, having the speed this year is going to be able to generate a lot. I mean, from, you got bunt and runs, you got hit and runs, you got squeeze plays, you got fake bunt and runs, you've got, R1, R3, first and third situations. We have a lot of different ways to score runs, which in the past, to be honest, I'd be like, okay, let's let's get the hits, let's get the gappers, let's get the home run. I called it murder row sometimes when you looked at the big girls coming up in a row. But it's really great to see. I mean, she's swinging the bat really well and she's looking good. And Devin is competitive as ever. You see improvements from Reagan Barrett. I mean, she's looking really good at shortstop in the infield, but also offensively. Rachel Roop is seasoned, even though she's a sophomore. I mean, that kid is just so well-rounded with speed and a gun for an arm and aggressive at the plate with power. She can put a quick bunt down. I mean, I can go through this whole lineup. The transfers we've been able to get, when you look at Savannah Woodard and what she is able to do, you got a transfer too coming in, with KK, Madre, and, you look at, we mentioned Estroff as well, but Sierra Kirsten is, I mean, that kid from the left side's got power. I mean, it's really, I can go down, I can go through this whole lineup. We talked about MC and her speed, and you look at second base, Rachel Crane is ripping the ball. And so with the middles, we've got those three with Reagan, Crane, and then you got Savvy. And you got Soto. I mean, catching right now is ripping the ball. But again, I've always said talk is cheap. So we got to see what happens. In the diamond, when we get there, we're going to be starting off versus the defending champions. And from there with Duke and Washington and San Jose State and then Stanford, then we're going to go to UCLA. Then we're going to go to Puerto Vallarta. We're going to play Ole Miss, and then we play Kansas. Then following that, we play Tennessee and Fullerton. Then we come back for our 3 home tournaments. Our midweeks are Alabama, Kentucky, again, Duke, UNC. Also, Clemson is coming to play us at our home. Virginia Tech and Virginia, both home and homes. So this is one of the top schedules in the country, and we're excited about it. I believe we've prepared them. Our kids are trained, and they're training hard, and they're ready to go. And now it's showtime.